All right, day two. Um, so I've been giving this some thought, continual thinking about, uh, you know, what I should do in terms of not exactly New Year's resolutions, but things that I'm working towards, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do with the year 2020. Mainly, kind of these self improvement sort of ideas. And last time I presented this notion of, looking at yourself and determining what virtues and what things you think you should cultivate just based upon your own analysis of yourself rather than, say, um, reason X or Y from exterior factor X or Y. And one of the things that became apparent to me, you see, let me paint the picture. I'm a young guy. I like to drink. I like to smoke, not smoke cigars. That is, and I indulge in them quite frequently. I would say 1 to 2 a month, maybe more. This Christmas, definitely more. Um, and I just sort of have this nagging voice that tells me, don't do it again. Like, this is the last one. Don't do this again. And I always kind of brushed it off. I'm like, I was like, you like doing it. Keep doing it. You don't do much else. You don't drink that much. You don't go to parties. You don't do this or that. It's like, yeah, sit down with a friend, have a cigar every once in a while. Hang out with the guys and have a cigar every once in a while. It's like, it's not a bad thing. And it's like, I try to be as active as I can. I work out probably 2 times a day for 2 hours total. I eat very clean. I only drink water, and I recently gave up coffee, so I only drink water and I drink tea every once in a while. So, I'm also thinking that this kind of goes against my lifestyle choices up until now. That is, and it's like like, why start something and go through with something like that when it's sort of in contradiction to the ways in which you're living currently. So, I thought about it and I said, well, like, why are you even smoking cigars? Like, why are you into that? Why is that your thing? And I think it sounds silly, but I think it just goes back to seeing people who I either admire or who are successful, and wanting to mimic them or be like them. So, like, for me, I feel an example of that is Albert Camus, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud. I don't quite admire Sigmund Freud, but I mean, revolutionary for the psychology world. But I think he was flawed in some of his thinking. Recognizing his faults, he did amazing work for the field of psychology. So he did great things, and he smoked a cigar, smoked a pipe. Carl Jung smoked a pipe like a boss. Albert Camus smoked cigars, smoked cigarettes like a fiend. And I kind of wanted that to mimic that, and I think it also comes from just this feeling of edginess you get. Like, not to say I'm after edginess. I'm not like using samurai swords and wearing black boots and wearing black coats. It's like, I'm not trying to be edgy. It's like, it's just fun and interesting to do something that is, say, maybe not accepted in our circles. Like, it's interesting to be on the outside and to be a part of a culture that isn't generally accepted amongst the normal folk. So it's very interesting to be there, and it's a lot of fun too, and it's very intellectually stimulating. Smoking is. You sit for 2 hours, you can talk. And me and my friends, we're philosophy majors. We get together, we have a drink maybe, and we have a cigar. And I'm talking a thick, long cigar. It takes 2 or more hours to smoke, and that is a good time. And sometimes we'll have more than one. So I would typically have more than one. I'd have some small cigarillos. I'd have a cigar. I would get completely tobacco high. Great feeling. And you know, I just decided, like, you know, that's an exterior reason. You're deciding the reason you started smoking is because you thought it was, you know, either edgy or really the reason why I started smoking is because it was a friend's bachelor's party. I was like, yeah, have a cigar. I was like, this is amazing. First of all, I feel like a scholar right now, and that's, you know, the dream. I want to be a scholar, and I feel like when I'm doing this, and other scholars in the past have done this, therefore I should probably do this. So I started doing it. It was not the first time I had smoked, to be very clear. The first time I had smoked was the summer of my sophomore year going to my junior year. I remember I just had this feeling where I was like, I just wanted to do something mischievous. And so I went to a gas station. I went to one gas station, and I was gonna go in there and buy a pack of Swisher Sweets because I had never smoked. I had never had I never smoked tobacco at this point. I had never had a cigarillo. I never had a cigarette. I was like, I just wanted to. I just wanted to try it, and I wanted to go to a gas station and get a pack of cigarillos. But I looked up online, and they were like, you know, cigarillos will make you stink. They smell bad. And it's like, oh, I can't do that. And then go home. It's like, you know, everyone's gonna know. So I'm like, what can I do instead? So I was like, okay. It's like, well, what else can I do? So like, what? It's like, what's a nice cigarette I can get? Because those don't take as long to smoke. You still get a little nicotine buzz. It doesn't smell as bad, which is like kind of true, kind of not. Now that I've been there. So I remember, like, in my car, I went to a Walmart gas station. And I pump my gas first. And I like hype myself. I'm like, okay, time to go. You're going to walk in there and buy a pack of Marlboro cigarettes. And when they ask for your ID, you're going to hand it to them. I was ready. I had my ID in my hand. I was ready to go. I get up to the window and I say, hey, can I have a pack of Marlboro Reds? Which is like, why? You should have got Southern Cut, you imbecile. Those are much better. And I get up there, and she doesn't even check my ID. At this point, right now I have a beard. Then I didn't even have a beard. I was clean shaven. I was wearing a polo shirt. I just got off work. I look like a poster boy for middle class America. And a high school boy who's in a private school who's in middle class America. And the lady just hands me the pack of cigarettes. And then I was like, can I also have a lighter? And then she gets me a lighter. And then I just pay her, and that was it. She didn't ID me. And that was my first experience buying tobacco, not being ID'd. I don't think I've been ID'd once since I've bought anything. Granted, now I look like I'm 30. But, like, I've never been ID'd. And it also helps that you go in and you build a rapport with some of the guys. You tell them what you're looking for, like, hey, you know, I'm interested in such and such. I've had this and that. I think they just assume that because, you know, you're talking about it and you look as if you're old enough to buy these things, they just don't ID you. But now the age is raised to 21, so maybe it'll be more difficult. Maybe they're more regulated about it and they'll start IDing people more, but most places just don't ID people. If you go to a grocery store, though, grocery stores always ID you. Gas stations, it's iffy. Cigar shops, it's iffy. I said I don't think I've ever been ID'd, but I think I've been ID'd once. I cannot remember where it was at, but I think I was ID'd once. So back to the story. It started with that, and then I drove back. I was like, oh, man, I gotta have a place to smoke these. I gotta find a place to smoke these. So I remember going back to a parking lot, and then I just stood outside of my car, and the wind was blowing like crazy, and I couldn't get my cigarette to light, and I was like, oh, okay, you gotta cover it with your hand. So I covered it with my hand, and then I light it, and it's like, and I remember smoking it for the first time, and like, the smell of the tobacco was so good. I remember the way the cigarettes, just the way they smelled. It's like, I loved the smell. The smell of the tobacco was just so good. And I honestly loved it. Like, it was really good. And then, like, I would, every once in a while, I would stop and smoke one, or I'd smoke one on the way home in the car with just the windows down, going on a back road real nice and slow. And I just kind of fell in love with it. I wouldn't smoke that much. Maybe I'd smoke 2 a month, 3 a month, like, just very, very small amount. And one time I went to a buddy's house, and we had some cigarillos. It was my first cigarillo, black and mild. Loved them. They were pretty good. I think they're in wine flavored is what they were. Wine flavor with the wood tips. They were good. Black and mild's not a bad cigarillo brand. And after that, I remember I was like, I'm going to go to my car and get my cigarettes. I said, I don't ever really get an opportunity to smoke these. So I was like, I'm just going to have a few right now. I remember he was an athlete. I was not an athlete. I was active at that point. I was working out still consecutively every day, but I wasn't, probably not every day, but I was certainly not as into health as I am now. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to smoke a few of these. He was like, dang, bro. He's like, you're actually going to smoke some cigarettes? He's like, that's kind of, it's just like, man, that's something else. So I have a few, maybe like 2 or 3, I don't know. And I go in, have a little tequila, whatever, and just chill out, hang out. And then I ended up driving back to meet with a girl, and I was talking with her, and this was a few hours after I had the tequila. Just to be clear, I don't drink and drive. And it wasn't far. It was like a block. I could have walked, probably. No, it wasn't a block. It was more like, let me think. It was more like maybe 6 or 7 blocks. So it was, something like 2 miles. And it was all like back, it was all city roads, and it was empty. It was like fall break or something. No one was there. So I drove up there, and, I park and walk in, and I'm talking to her, and she's like, man, like, first of all, she's like, you smell like alcohol. And I'm like, it's been a few hours. Second of all, and then I was asking her, I was like, well, she was like, I think she said first you smell awful. And I was like, is it the smoke? And she was like, what, smoke? And I was like, yeah. So I had some Black and Mild, and then I had some Marlboros. And she was like, dude, that is really gross. She was like, and I remember she looked at me and she was like, how come everyone I love dies from lung cancer? And then I was like, I get it now. I was like, I shouldn't be doing this, because it doesn't just hurt my health, it affects the people I care about. I was like, oh, I get it now. I can hurt other people by doing self-destructive things even if I don't care about myself. And I was like, oh, so I shouldn't be doing this. And then the next morning I woke up, threw away my pack of cigarettes, and I was done. I didn't have another one. Didn't have another tobacco product until the bachelor party, and I had a cigar. My world has changed. And then since then, I've probably had, I don't know, a lot in the past few months. Certainly over 20, I think now. I ran through a few packs of those little cigarillos. Those things are amazing. The Isla de Sols by Drew Estate, those things are fantastic. You can get the Maduro ones, or you can get the regular wrapped ones. They're fantastic. So yeah, and as much as I'm into it now, I still love to do it, and it's just amazing. Sort of a habit, but like, I know that I can't do it because it's like, you're going to get mouth cancer one day. You're going to get sinus cancer one day. And as much as I thought about that, I was like, yeah, I don't really care. I'm going to smoke them anyway. And then I thought, like, okay, well, it's like, well, what is... And I felt this pressure, and I was considering it, and I was like, okay, so let's really think about this. Why are you smoking cigars? And then, well, successful people smoke cigars all the time. It's normal. That's what I would tell myself. It's like, people do this all the time. It's normal. Successful people do this all the time. They indulge. And I was like, well, and I don't know. I think it also comes from just the way it makes me feel, like the day after you go on a heavy smoking binge. Like, I think one time I smoked 3 little cigarillos, which is 3 little cigars is really what I would call them, because they're not cigarillos. They're basically cigars. Just tiny. And you do that, that's basically a cigar. And then you have another cigar that's like a foot long, and I don't know how many gauges, like 20 gauge, and you're like, man, you wake up the next morning, you're like, I am like hungover from tobacco. And you put alcohol on top of that, and then you wake up and you're completely screwed. You don't want to do anything. You got to take a nap in the middle of the day or in the morning. Once you get going, it's like you can't. I just can't do it. And I'm a get up early kind of guy. I get up at 4:30 every day. I read and then I work out, and then I go to work. That's what I like to do. It's like, it's just not for me. That life isn't for me. And I think that it came from this realization that I'm like, okay, this isn't compatible with my lifestyle. I kind of had that argument at first, but I brushed it off. I was like, yeah, who cares? You're active, and you're stronger. You're active. You run more than most people ever will. So I kind of was able to like rest on my laurels, as they say. And then I just got to thinking, and I thought, I just don't think I should do it. I just had that thought. I just don't think I should do it. So then I just stopped. Said I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not been that long, but I just had this thought. I'm like, I'm going to commit. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm saying no. I'm putting them down, putting the cigaras down, even though I don't want to. I just have this feeling, this voice, it says, put them down, don't do it anymore. It's the same voice that said, make sure you get up between 4 and 4:30 every single day this year, which is a strange thing, because I let myself sleep in on the weekends. I sleep in till like, let me think, I sleep until about like 6 to 8 on the weekends, but every day on the weekdays I typically get up around 4:30. And I don't know. I just figure, maybe that voice is leading me in the right direction, whatever it is. Follow that path that it's telling you to follow, because it got you to quit smoking cigars, and you kind of knew you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So maybe it's got something that you should learn from it, whatever it is. I don't know. If you're religious, is it kind of God giving me wisdom? I don't know. Is it just my conscience? Very possible. Just readjusted my mic there. Hope it didn't make too much noise. But it's like, whatever it is, I'm going to listen to it, because it kind of seems to have things figured out. Whether or not that's just myself unconsciously knowing, it's like, hey, you really shouldn't be doing this. It's like, yeah, figures, I won't do it anymore. So, I don't know. I'm going to start listening to that voice more, and hope that it develops a stronger... hope that, with the hopes that voice will soon develop a louder voice for me to hear it more clearly. That's the hope, because it's subtle. It's a whisper. It's just like a little inkling in the back of my mind, and I think I should probably listen to that. That's what I'm thinking. So I think I'm gonna do that. Keep on listening to that voice. That's kind of the resolution of the year, and the cigars are kind of a result of that. Where it's like, and I think that voice, whatever it is, it's kind of the communication with myself. It's telling me what things are valuable to you. What do you want, rather than what society or what person X or person Y is telling you you should do. It's like, well, what do you want? So I think that's sort of a manifestation of that, maybe a manifestation of unconscious or consciously accepted virtues and values. And it's the culmination of those things into a separate entity communicating with me. I'm not like saying literally a separate entity, but consciously a separate entity in terms of the unconsciousness and how that's communicating back with me. So maybe, very well possible. That's just things I know to be true, perhaps, that I just neglect. And then secondly is alcohol. That's not as big of a deal to me, because I'm not of a long time drinker. I'm not as much as a long time drinker as I am a smoker. But I'm not really a smoker. I just like to smoke cigars. So that's not a really problem. That's not a big problem for me. That's pretty easy, because I have one major reason to not drink. It's diet. I can't. Too many carbs, too many sugars, too many calories. It's like I'm not wasting my calories on a drink. And then you drink enough to get drunk, and then you not even drunk. You drink enough to get buzzed or to feel good, and it's like you might as well eaten 3 steaks. So it's like, I have a logical reason for not doing it, but I also just have this intuition that's like says, no. I have that intuition as well. So that's a reason for me to not indulge, and I think that's reason enough. Like, like that's the thing that I think I'm starting to realize, is that this sort of communication I'm having with this internal voice saying no, that's reason enough. That's all I need. I have a feeling, and I'm going with it. It's intuition. It's the way things seem to me. As epistemologists would say, I'm using my seemings to justify my actions, or my beliefs rather. So my beliefs are justified based upon my seemings, and it seems to me that is true. So that's justified for me, and I think that's very fair. Because some things, it comes down to seemings, and it comes down to intuitions, and I think that's one of those things. You can have a list of facts on both sides, determining whether or not what you should do. But for right now, for me, it's a no for both cigars and alcohol. It's a no. And to be fair, I will put that in brackets by saying that I am waiting, till I'm older, and I'm like, we'll reconsider this in like 5 years, but be sober for 5 years and see how you feel. And if you feel like you want to have a drink, have one maybe. But I don't see the need to indulge in that way right now. So I'm just not going to. Same thing with cigars. I don't see the need to engage in indulgence and hedonistic activity in that way, so I'm not going to. And I don't require any other reasoning for that other than the intuition that I have that tells me not to. And I think that's it. And that's what I'm going to try to do.